Coming to you live from the clubhouse, where today we will have our very first guest who, just like us, is an unsolicited expert at all things Ryder Cup. We're talking history, pairings, and maybe throwing in a little Happy Gilmore reference. This is the All In Podcast. We're glad you're here. Bada bing, bada boom. Bing, bada bing, bada bing, bada boom. Bada bing, bada boom. Joe, why don't you just share a little bit about yourself and why the heck we're bringing you on the pod this morning?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I know a bunch of you guys just from my time as a recruiter for, the same nonprofit that we all worked at. And I have left that nonprofit and kind of worked in a secular position as a recruiter these days. So, we had that history together, and you asked me to come kind of talk through being all in just a variety of stages of life, being removed from nonprofit work and kind of more of a vanilla role as a husband, father, employee, and then also to talk about the Ryder Cup that I'm over the moon and so ecstatic about.
So for our listeners, Joe, me, Jose, and Clayton, we are all in on giving each other crap about LinkedIn. So I think LinkedIn is potentially the most amazing and cringy platform simultaneously. Mm-hmm. And I think we would all respect your LinkedIn grind. Sure. So your bio is, last time I checked, a golfer with a recruiting habit, or maybe a recruiter with a golf habit. How do you get involved on LinkedIn?
Yeah, LinkedIn is just a phenomenal platform, I think, just right now for those of us that I have zero interest in social media, the traditional social media. And LinkedIn, I think, is just it's becoming more of like a network and a neighborhood than it is social media. Neighborhood. That's honestly what I would compare it of, just there's really fun stuff on LinkedIn. It's a great way for people just to kind of share small side projects that they're doing or just things that they're interested in. We even had the Walker Cup this weekend, and, the whole week I was making posts about roles I was working on or different stuff in the, tech world or medical device world that I can recruit in. But then I just was like, hey, we're playing a really unique golf course this weekend. They played Cypress. The 16th hole is a 240-yard par 3 with carry over the Pacific Ocean the entire way. One of the most iconic shots in golf. And I just said, hey, this is a pressure point. I'm excited to watch this. And it was just a fun thing of just hey, this is something that I'm interested in, throwing it out there. As of now, I would just say I don't know a more powerful tool for getting new jobs. And I think it does serve that function in just a business capacity as well. I live, breathe LinkedIn. So if you're looking for a job or a transition, I would say that there's no better tool right now than LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is kind of where I live as a recruiter. And I think it's becoming more of a neighborhood than it is social media.
That's wow. If you can't Jose. Tell to our listeners, Joe also could do really well in sales because he just made me and all of you guys believe that LinkedIn is the best platform on
I'm
Earth.
about to get LinkedIn Premium right now.
Just because it moves to the LinkedIn neighborhood.
Yeah, the best $10 a month I spend, LinkedIn Premium, man.
It's the HOA. It's the HOA for LinkedIn.
HOA. When are you going to start making LinkedIn shorts?
Actually, they're funny you mentioned that. LinkedIn is actually becoming more of a video platform. And actually, Microsoft in their recent kind of business meetings talked through hey, we want to make LinkedIn more of a video platform. So you'll probably see more of that out of me, some walk-in talks, talking about resume stuff or jobs and whatnot, but probably not shorts. I don't know if it's going to get to the, Instagram Reels or whatever, where you're just scrolling through videos. Maybe it will. I probably won't partake in that, but could get there.
I think right. Joe's the perfect.
I'm excited to see your morning routine on LinkedIn one day.
Happy to share it.
I think Joe's the perfect guest for the podcast because he fits right in on being hyper confident about things that he knows potentially 15% about. So he read one headline on Microsoft and their new investment in LinkedIn, and all of a sudden he sounds like C-suite at LinkedIn on this podcast.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they say you can't BS a BSer, so you can see right through it, John Michael. But yeah, that's part of the gift of I guess that I've gotten.
That's amazing,
Joe. Before you became a professional recruiter, as full time on LinkedIn, you were You were a recruiter, as you mentioned, for the same nonprofit that we all work for. And there's particular memory that I have with you. At my interview, you interviewed me, and then at the end of the day of the interview, I was socializing with all of the other applicants, and you sent a colleague to come up to me at dinner, and you told him to come up to me and say in front of all the other applicants, "Hey, Clayton, Joe found some discrepancies in your application, and he needs to see you in the other room immediately." And so, of course, all the other applicants, set down their forks, everything's kind of paused, and I, very fearfully walked out with this friend of yours, and he brought me into the other room, and I walked in, and there was a chair on one side of the room in which you were sitting with your legs crossed with a binder on your lap. And there was a chair on the other side of the room about 30 feet away. And I walked into the room and you said, "Take a seat." And I took a seat, and you dramatically paused at me for about 20 seconds. And then you said, "I know." And I said, "What?" And you said, "I know." And I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And you said, "I called one of your references that you submitted, and he confirmed for me that there were some very significant things that you left out of your application, and I'm going to give you one opportunity to tell me what it is." And after me fumbling over my words, you finally let it out that you're just messing with me. So it's true that you've become, maybe a little bit more professional. You're very good at what you do these days. Joe, there's a reason we have you on here, though, and that's because something very exciting is happening September 26th through 28th in Farmingdale, New York. Tell us a little bit about the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, the Ryder Cup's really unique. It's, golf, as you guys know, professional golf is very individual centric. For an entire year, these guys are competing in tournaments where it's solely them. And then we get a really unique opportunity where we get team golf and it's match play golf. So match play golf is just kind of like head to head. Very, there's a clearly defined winner and loser. Whereas like on the PGA Tour, it's just like, hey, there's really one winner, but you can still get like fourth place and still make a lot of money. But it's like, hey, we're going head to head. Someone is going to win this match. Someone's going to lose this match. And it's very unique in that regard. And, winners and losers, and then the team aspect. So you're playing with multiple people. So we're going to see a variety of different kind of like playing styles that we don't normally see. We'll definitely see some like head to head, one golfer against one golfer, but we'll see, there's four balls and then there's foursomes. So we're going to see, two players from the US facing two players from greater Europe going at it. And, it'll be a very unique format. But the beautiful thing, I think, is just that it's just a unique atmosphere, and all the golfers, all the professional golfers that you talk to, they say, "I love the Ryder Cup. I want to make the Ryder Cup more than anything." So,
I thought it was cool. I saw an image of Bryson DeChambeau, who's on this year's Ryder Cup team. He made an appearance at the Walker Cup, which is that the amateur version of the Ryder Cup, Joe? Mm-hmm. So he made an appearance at Cypress Point in California just to motivate Team USA, the best amateurs in the world, against, is it Team Europe also, or is it like Great Britain?
It's just Great Britain and Ireland, Britain and Ireland.
Which is how the Ryder Cup used to be.
Yeah, until I think it was in sometime in like the late, like with Seve Ballesteros, so like in the 70s or 80s,
probably.
That was like the first time that they moved to the greater Europe.
Well, for those that haven't watched a Ryder Cup before, this is not your typical golf viewing experience, which for some of you that might mean, Sunday, afternoon after church, you just kind of, you flip on the golf channel, you watch the Sunday round, Scotty Scheffler's winning another tournament, and you kind of fall asleep on your couch. I'm a little more into it than that. The Ryder Cup is not like that. Can you tell us a little bit about the atmosphere, Joe? What are you excited about?
Yeah, I think it's here in the U.S. and it goes every 2 years between the U.S. and Europe. So you actually have like a home team and an away team, which is a unique atmosphere there. And people are all decked out. It gets pretty loud and whatnot. But again, I think it's just the team aspect of, hey, there are, it's a situation you don't see in golf where you're an away team and there's people booing you or there's people cheering actively against you. That's something that is just like a cauldron of pressure that you don't really get. And a lot of the players kind of talk through that. I think Rob McIntyre was just recently interviewed by Dan Rappaport, and he asked him straight up, what was the most nervous you have ever been? And he's like, the first time I teed off last year in 2023. He's like, easily the most nervous I've ever been in golf. Keegan Bradley talked about the same thing. He's like, my first Ryder Cup appearance, that first tee, the most nervous I've ever been. So it's like a unique kind of like pressure cauldron. It's just so different than what they're used to. That's one of the reasons I like it. And then I think one of the reasons I also love it, or one of the unique things, is kind of the 2v2 aspect that you'll get, where there's 2 players from the US facing 2 players from Europe. They're on the same green. Someone makes a putt, goes high fives, daps up his partner, gets the crowd, and they're like getting the crowd pumped up in a way that you never see just on the PGA Tour, never, on the individual events.
So I was doing a lot of research into the Ryder Cup last night. I started by watching Happy Gilmore 2, which had nothing on the Ryder Cup, but it had a lot about Bryson.
Yeah.
And then I binged the last 2 episodes of Full Swing Season 2.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Keegan Bradley, and I'm just kind of curious because the show made it seem like he has been snubbed year in and year out from the Ryder Cup, but now he's the captain.
Yeah.
And so I'm just a little confused if you could clear up what's going on with Mr. Bradley. Is this his first Ryder Cup? Why does he look like that? He kind of creeps me out. He has a creepy look to him. What's going on there, Joe?
Joe grabs tin hat and gets ready to talk through all the golf conspiracies, and whatnot. No. Keegan Bradley. So how the teams work, and this is how both the U.S. and the Europe works as well, is there are each team has 12 people, and there's a qualifying process that takes course over 2 years, based on your placements at golf tournaments. And there's 6 automatic qualifiers. So the top 6 people automatically make the team. And then there's 6 captains picked. So they get to choose anyone, whether they are in positions 7 through 12 or even outside of that. So 2 years ago, Keegan Bradley was playing some phenomenal golf, and there was no doubt and there was no confusion. He was even telling people like, hey, I want to be on this team. I want to be on this team. And, he had said, I feel like a little bit of an outsider, I'm trying to like invest in more of like, hey, here's the core people that are, very clearly going to be on this team. And I'm trying to build relationships with them. And then I don't want to use the word snubbed. Zach Johnson went in a different direction. Obviously disappointing for him. And then you have this like full swing moment where you have video cameras on Zach Johnson and video cameras on Keegan. You just like see this huge demoralizing, moment in Keegan Bradley's life. But, I think they saw how much it meant to Keegan Bradley, like the Ryder Cup. And that's one of the reasons it's cool to have him as a captain. And it almost was like this unfortunate situation where he's been playing so well this year that easily he would have been a captain's pick if he wasn't the captain. But he decided as the captain, they asked him about a year and a half ago to be the captain. He had the choice of like, do I pick myself to be on this team? Do I not? And I think wisely didn't choose himself. I think the last playing captain was Arnold Palmer. And I think there's this like, are you really going to put yourself in the same camp as Arnold Palmer, Keegan Bradley? And I would have loved to have seen him do it. Personally, I wanted him to pick himself, but I see why he didn't. But yeah, so we got our 12 teams, and Keegan Bradley, his first appearance, I think, was back in 2012 at Medina, which was a really demoralizing, if we want to get into the history of the Ryder Cup, the Miracle in Medina is a pretty popular one. And then he played again at Glen Eagles in 2014. So he's been on 2. No, he has not played since. And then I think historically he hasn't unpacked one of his bags. I think they mentioned that in Full Swing as well. I think it's from the Glen Eagles. He has refused to unpack his golf bag because he was so upset at the loss. So he said, I'm never going to unpack this bag until I win a Ryder Cup. So that's like an added layer to this Ryder Cup here at Bethpage Black, which is,
will Keegan Bradley finally unpack his bag?
Yeah. Which is also exciting. I mean, so it's a really beautiful course. I don't know if you guys know much about Bethpage Black. It's one of the few public courses that, people play, and it's an incredibly difficult course. It's like a par 71, super long, super difficult. I have a friend that I used to play with in Alabama. He said he played that course, and he said he's the best golfer I've ever seen personally, like in person play. And he mentioned to me, he's like, hey, I nailed a 60-footer for double bogey on 18. to shoot an 89 and it felt like I won the Masters. Like, he's like, you don't understand how difficult this course is. It's like you barely miss the fairway and you're hitting a 6-degree as far as you can because the rough is so thick. So it'll be a true amazing test of golf, which is exciting.
Amazing. Wow.
Joe, question. Can Europe please get some better uniforms for the Ryder Cup this year?
I don't have an eye for that kind of stuff, but like, yeah, I mean, it is a pretty dull, like, I feel like the USA, and maybe we're biased as USA fans, where you're just like, the red, white, and blue, like, is just goated, man. You can't beat it, man. It's like, oh, blue and yellow. Y'all are looking pretty weird.
Honestly though, I'm a little scared for the European team, Joe. I mean, the name, you got Rory, John Rahm, Tommy Fleetwood, Justin Rose, who just, I don't know how that man is not in a wheelchair at this point. He's so old. Tyrrell Hatton, Bobby McIntyre, and then, I mean, Ludwig Oberg, Victor. I mean, the names, they're saying it's the most stacked European team since probably in the last 8 or 9 rounds.
That's what they said about the American team last time, right?
Yeah. Well, we also were picking. In my personal opinion, we picked the wrong people to go. From
this year or last Ryder
2
Cup?
years ago, I said, I was like, we are going to get absolutely massacred, and it wasn't close. I even texted a friend of mine. I was like, this is going to be called the slaughter at Simone. Like, and it never once felt like the U.S. Like, you go and you open up and you lose all 4 rounds, and you're like, man, this is not good. I never felt confident that we would win. I think one of the unique things about the Europe team that I've talked a lot about this is I feel like the European team is actually set up for the next 10 years really, really well. Yes, you do have some of the veterans like Justin Rose, who's a little bit older. You got Rory. But I mean, like, look at some of the young guys. You got Rob McIntyre. You got Victor Hovland. You got Ludwig Oberg. You got Rasmus Højgaard. I mean, John Rahm is coming into his prime. Sepp Straka is coming into his prime. You got so many young people that I'm like, I feel like this is a team that is really, really ready to go for years to come. Whereas, like, you look at the U.S. team, and I mean, there's some more grizzled vets, you might say, of like, hey, like, Justin Thomas is the most veteran guy on this team. There's a lot of guys that this is their like 3rd or 4th Ryder Cup. And I look at it and like in 4 years, when it's back here, I think it's coming to Hazeltine again in 4 years, but it's just like, man, like, what is it going to look like? Like, how different is the U.S. team going to look like compared to Europe's? Because I look at Europe's, I'm like, this is the next 6 to 8 years of Europe is this team. And I look at America, and I'm like, I don't have the confidence that this is the next 6 to 8 years. So, but I do know, Rory even said this at the end of Whistling Straits, or no, he said this at the end of at Simone in 2023, but he said, like, winning an away Ryder Cup might be the most impressive feat in golf. So I think that just, like all those players talking about where it's like high pressure, having people cheering against you, I think it's so unique, and it's so challenging to win an away Ryder Cup. So I think that obviously the U.S. will have the advantage there. And, with a lot of these things, fun fact, the Keegan Bradley will get to set all the pin positions for every day. He gets to kind of set where the galleries line up. He gets to set how long the rough is. Wow. Like, the home team gets every advantage that you would like pretty much think of. They can set that out. And so one of the things I think you're going to see at Bethpage that you wouldn't see. So like at Marco Simone, they moved the gallery out super far and wide and made the rough super, super long. Okay. They made it super long. And so one of the things is like where everyone's walking is really trampled down, and players would actually rather hit out of trampled down, like crowd grass than the long rough. So they let it grow longer. They push the galleries out. So it's like the US were typically a longer team, less accurate. So we were hitting out of the rough a lot, right? That's what the advantage is. But I think what you'll see here is there will be, the people will be in tighter. The gallery will be, the rough's going to be shorter. So we can use our advantage, which is our length. We got some absolute bombers of the ball. Bryson, Cam Young. Like, we have some people that just hit absolute nukes every time they go over a ball. So yeah, it'll be a cool thing. So I think obviously the advantage will be home side. But we'll, you got to put the tee in the ground and you got to go and play it. But I think, Keegan's going to do everything impossible to stack the deck as much in the U.S. favor.
This is a question for everyone, not just Joe, our Ryder Cup expert, of what are some storylines going into this year, right? All I know as someone that's never watched a Ryder Cup is that there was a guy last time that didn't wear a hat because he wasn't getting paid to protest. And Justin Thomas's caddy almost fought Rory McIlroy on the course.
That's all you need to know.
Things I know.
That's
Those are
literally
things I'm watching out for. But
You're
what else is going on for someone that, this is our first Ryder Cup? Maybe we're not even from any of the countries that are being represented out there. What can we look for? What can we get excited about? What are some of those things going on in the nexus of golf that will be brought to light here?
Well, I think number one, I mean, we've already talked about it, but the Keegan Bradley story. He's an American underdog. I saw him win his first tournament at the Byron Nelson. Probably it would have been 2010, 2011, 2012, somewhere in there. Most of us on this podcast like underdogs. Not all of us do. But I think number one is going to be Keegan Bradley. Number two, I always think Justin Thomas. I just never know what to think about him. Joe, I mean, he's what do they call him? Captain America,
Yeah.
And I
just go so low.
Huh?
He can just shoot so low. Like, he can just go very low out of nowhere.
He just hasn't been as dominant as he once was. And
yeah,
he's just one of those guys. I mean, he's in the boys club. One of the reasons that Keegan didn't get picked, which actually kind of helps me to relate with Keegan a little bit more. I was probably like average popularity in middle school. And, we've all been in that position where like you didn't get picked for the thing because, the other guy, they're better friends with the other guy, So when Keegan didn't get picked for the last Ryder Cup, and was it Justin Thomas they picked over him, Joe?
Yeah.
Or Jordan probably?
Justin Thomas, yeah.
I felt that. I was with Keegan in that. So I think Keegan number one, Justin Thomas number two, and then also my third thing is that the U.S. has 4 Ryder Cup rookies, and so a lot of untested golfers. And we've already heard from Joe that a few of the players can attest that this is the most nerve-wracking.
Europe has the exact same team as they did last time, but they just switched Højgaard twins. Like, literally, they went from Nikolai to Rasmus. Like, the team is the exact same.
Yep.
I'm interested to get into maybe some pairings with y'all because, as you mentioned, we have some younger guys. I mean, like JJ Spawn, if he doesn't win the U.S. Open, probably isn't on the team,
no.
right?
No.
Here's my dream, as a Bryson DeChambeau fan. This would be like me Friday morning. I'm like, put this in my jugular, right? So you have Keegan Bradley goes to St. John's. They used to play Bethpage all the time. I want first off the tee, Bryson DeChambeau and Cam Young. Like, we just need to go all out. One of the reasons I love this pairing, I've been reading a lot of people being like, Bryson and Ben Griffin would be a good one. But I'm like, here's the thing with Bryson and Cam Young. So Cam Young's from New York City. So he's like a hometown boy. And then Bryson is Bryson. You've seen all the stuff with him on social media and hugely popular character right now in the world of golf. One of the things that people don't know, they both like to play a draw, and they're both playing this new kind of Titleist ball that's coming out. It's the Double Dot Pro V1X. It's like a new prototype ball, which has less spin. They both pound the ball. So with your driver, you're getting a lot of spin. And then one of the tough things with wedges, when you're hitting it so hard, is the ball can just fly super high in the air, and it just gets too spinny on the wedges. So something that hopefully will have a little less spin for them. So they're both kind of playing that ball. They both like to play a draw, things like that. But I mean, I think Xander and Patrick is probably a no-brainer at this point. Same with Scotty and Russell Henley. They both were on the President's Cup together. But I'm interested to see. But yeah, I think this is going to come down to a lot of the rookies on the U.S. team, JJ Spawn. How does he play? Obviously, he played unreal at the U.S. Open, right? Comes out, finishes birdie. Awesome. Ben Griffin, younger guy, but has been just doing amazing things on the PGA Tour. Cam Young, it's just your first time. We'll see. It's hard to know really with everything. So, and then Russell Henley, obviously he has the partnership with Scotty, very accurate driver of the ball, but Bethpage just you just have to hit it long and, or accurately. So hopefully that kind of plays into him, but I don't know, John Michael, I'm interested to know, what your takes are.
Tiger has a really great chance this year. I see Phil as a really solid number 2. Vijay Singh's another guy I'm looking out for this year. Coming off the
Bernard
senior
Langer,
tour.
though. Bernard Langer's coming in hot for the Europeans. Yeah.
And don't say goodbye to Jack Nicklaus. There's a real chance that reincarnation comes and who knows what happens on the greens this year. Joe, I know nothing about golf. Okay. I look like I'm a 10 handicapped, but I'm a 35 handicap in terms of how I dress. So I've been loving this mostly because you could have said anything and I would have believed you. But you're a nerd. You were like, I'm blown away. You are a total nerd when it comes to this stuff. And this is all what the All-In's about.
Yeah. It's so unique. And there's been so many amazing books written, like the First Major's a phenomenal book. The Cup They Couldn't Lose, Shane Ryan's book. I just finished that one talking about the Whistling Straits. It's just phenomenal. But I think one of the beautiful things is it's just so unique. It's something that you get once a year, with it being, and I guess kind of you get it with the partner golf at the Zurich a little bit, but it's match play. It's head to head, and it's just amazing. It's just, there's nothing like it. And so I'm over the moon, and as Americans, we love being like us versus everyone, and we love being just like winners and losers. It's like we either are better than you or we will get to be better than you. Like that's like the U.S. approach that. Yeah. So,
Joe, I love hearing you. I love hearing you say this because I would agree that the game of golf needs a little bit more flair. I'd love to see more match play regularly on the PGA Tour. It's like this is available to us. Match play is fun to watch. It brings a different energy to the game. Speaking of books that you've read, one book that you got me to read was a book by Alan Shipnuck. Yeah. I think is the guy's name. Live and Let Die, all about the LIV Tour. You yourself are a huge proponent of the LIV Tour. Can you just give us 2 minutes why you think LIV Tour is good for the game of golf?
I just think competition's good for golf. Like competition's good for anything, right? You've seen obviously with the elevated events, the PGA Tour has had to come and just really be like, okay, we understand that there is now all this money coming into the game of golf. Obviously, YouTube golf is exploding, right? Match play golf is exploding. And so you actually, the reason I think it's a good thing is one, I think competition's always good for just like drawing out the best out of people. Two, I think the PGA Tour and LIV Golf should just be kept separate. I feel like they're different things. I just want to see more ways for them to like come together and play. I actually posted a video on LinkedIn because there was a LIV Golf tournament about 10 minutes away from where I live here in Indianapolis. But I just think keep them separate. Let's just find more ways to get them to play each other. I think I'd love to see some crossover with, hey, let's get LIV guys. You can play the players every year. Like I would love to see Scotty and Bryson going on 17 at Sawgrass or something under the lights in Abu Dhabi or, like one of those crazy courses, like seeing Rory and John Rahm go, toe to toe there. So overall, I just think it's good for competition's good for golf.
The game.
And we just these players, I don't think LIV is going anywhere. So let's just embrace the fact that they're different. So.
Great. Well, Joe, thank you so much for all of your advice, all of your expertise, all of your knowledge on golf. So if you were listening to this, keep an eye out on Justin Thomas's caddy. Keep an eye out on the pairings. Keep an eye out on if Keegan Bradley will get a drink named after him like Arnold Palmer, which I don't know about you guys. If someone handed me a Keegan Bradley, I would absolutely punch them in the face. I would not drink that. So thank you for listening as we wrap up here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this podcast with all of your friends, with all of your expertise, as we like to call Joe Moran, an expertise on the Ryder Cup. And we'll see you next week.